The Warlords claimed Invincibility. Then humanity joined the battlefield. The Vorthak Dominion had ruled the Outer Rim for 3 centuries, their crimson battlecruisers casting shadows across 100 worlds. Warlord Krexthul stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Bloodmaw, watching another planet burn beneath his feet. The orange flames reflected in his obsidian eyes as he savored the familiar sight of conquest. Another world claimed for the Dominion, rumbled his lieutenant Vexmore. The Zilani put up no more resistance than the others. Krexthul's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. The pattern was always the same. His forces would arrive, demonstrate their overwhelming firepower, and the local species would either submit or be annihilated. In 300 years, no one had ever chosen to fight back effectively. The Vorthak were simply too strong, too advanced, too perfectly designed for war. "Signal the fleet," Krexthul commanded. "Set course for the next system. Intelligence reports a new species there, something called humans from a backwater planet called Earth." The bridge crew chittered with anticipation. Another easy conquest awaited. 3 days later, the Dominion fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. Krexthul expected the usual response: panicked transmissions, desperate pleas for mercy, maybe a few primitive ships fleeing in terror. Instead, his sensors detected something unprecedented. The humans were approaching, not fleeing, approaching. "Warlord," Vexmore's voice carried a note of confusion. "They're coming toward us. 47 vessels, primitive fusion drives, and projectile weapons. They should be running." Krexthul studied the tactical display with growing irritation. The human ships were laughably outdated. Their largest vessel was barely a tenth the size of the Bloodmaw. Their weapons were crude kinetic projectiles and nuclear warheads, nothing that could penetrate Vorthak shielding. It was almost insulting. "Open a channel," he snarled. The main screen flickered to life, revealing a human female in a blue uniform. Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Space Navy looked directly into the camera, her expression calm but determined. "I am Warlord Krexthul of the Vorthak Dominion. Surrender immediately, and your species will be permitted to serve. Resist, and you will be exterminated." Admiral Chen's response was delivered in a steady voice. "This is Admiral Chen. We've seen what you did to the Zilani, the Karathi, and the others. Humanity's answer is no. If you want our world, you'll have to take it." The transmission ended. Krexthul stared at the blank screen, his rage building. No species had ever refused his terms so directly, so casually. These humans acted as if they had a chance. "Destroy them," he commanded. The battle began immediately. Vorthak plasma cannons reached out across space, targeting the human fleet with precise efficiency. The first salvo should have ended the fight. Instead, the humans did something impossible. They scattered, not in panic but in a coordinated dispersal pattern that minimized casualties while maximizing their ability to return fire. As Vorthak beams carved through space, human ships weaved between them with an agility that defied their primitive appearance. "How are they moving like that?" Vexmore demanded. "Their ships are too large for such maneuvers." Krexthul watched, in growing unease as the humans closed distance, taking losses but never breaking formation. Their return fire was ineffective against Vorthak shields, but they kept coming. And then, something changed. The human ships began working together in ways the Vorthak had never encountered. While the Dominion fought as individual vessels seeking personal glory, the humans moved like a single organism. They covered each other's flanks, shared targeting data, and sacrificed position to save damaged allies. "Warlord," the tactical officer, reported, "They're learning. Their fire patterns are adapting to our shield frequencies." It was impossible. No species adapted that quickly to Vorthak technology. Yet somehow the humans were analyzing their weapons in real time, adjusting their tactics with each exchange. The first Vorthak ship fell 20 minutes into the battle. The destroyer Rage Eternal had pursued a damaged human frigate, confident in an easy kill. Instead, the frigate led it into a crossfire from 3 other human vessels. Their concentrated kinetic bombardment overwhelmed the destroyer's shields, and nuclear warheads tore through its hull. Krexthul felt something he hadn't experienced in decades: doubt. All ships fall back to defensive formation, he ordered. Concentrate fire on their command vessel. But the humans had no single command vessel. When Admiral Chen's ship was crippled, command seamlessly transferred to Captain Rodriguez. When his ship was destroyed, Commander Okafor took over. The human fleet fought like a hydra, cut off one head and two more appeared. The battle raged for 6 hours. The Vorthak still held the advantage in firepower and technology, but the humans refused to break. They fought with a tenacity that bordered on madness, ramming damaged ships into Vorthak vessels when their weapons failed, ejecting nuclear charges in the paths of enemy fighters, turning every piece of debris into a weapon. Most disturbing of all, they never stopped learning. By the battle's end, human tactics had evolved beyond anything in Vorthak military doctrine. They used gravity wells to slingshot attacks, coordinated multi-vector assaults that confused Vorthak targeting systems, and employed psychological warfare by broadcasting the screams of dying Vorthak across all frequencies. When the Bloodmaw finally retreated with less than half the Dominion fleet intact, Krexthul stared at the tactical display in stunned silence. The humans had lost 3/4 of their ships, but they had won. More importantly, they had revealed something terrifying. They enjoyed the fight. "Warlord," Vexmore whispered. "What manner of species fights with such enthusiasm?" Krexthul didn't answer. He was too busy trying to process what he had witnessed. The humans hadn't just resisted, they had relished the challenge. While other species cowered or submitted, humanity had looked at the most feared military force in the Outer Rim and decided it was exactly the kind of fight they wanted. As the surviving Vorthak ships limped away from Sol, emergency transmissions flooded the communication arrays. Word of the battle was spreading across the galaxy at light speed. The invincible Dominion had been bloodied by a primitive species that most star maps didn't even acknowledge. But more disturbing than the military defeat was the realization that humanity wasn't done. Krexthul's intelligence network was already reporting increased activity from Earth, shipyards working around the clock, recruitment drives, and most ominously, humans spreading across nearby systems with an energy that spoke of expansion rather than defense. The Vorthak had awakened something in the darkness between stars, something that viewed their centuries of conquest not as a reason to fear, but as a challenge to overcome. 300 years of invincibility had ended in a single day. The Warlords had claimed they could not be beaten. Then humanity joined the battlefield and everything changed.